I've tested all tanking classes in 10.0 pre-patch to Dragonflight expansion by playing through some of the latest world content, such as tanking those annoying Dragons of the Nightmare and running pickup groups through the new dungeon, Alderman Legacy of Tyr. And in this video I thought I'll share my quick thoughts on what tank feels the best to me right on the verge of Dragonflight launch. From my usual perspective of a casual player who plays mostly solo, who doesn't want to rely on a properly coordinated group or raid, and who wants to stay alive if their healer goes offline or is simply slacking. If this is your cup of tea, make yourselves comfortable, and I recommend that you watch the whole video for the context or use the chapters in the timeline and the description of the video if you really want to skip ahead. In no particular order of preference, let's begin by talking about the good old staple tank class of World of Warcraft, the Protection Warrior. Protection Warrior actually feels quite good in 10.0, and I've tweaked the default build a little bit to remove some abilities that I personally realistically never use. And as always in my case, I focus on minimizing the number of buttons to press wherever possible. I also explicitly took the impending victory talent so that I can heal myself on demand, rather than rely on health regeneration abilities or pure damage mitigation that requires a certain level of skill of balancing things such as shield block with your ignore pains, which I admittedly am not that good at. So being able to heal on demand is a key thing for me that makes a Protection Warrior playable for me personally and self-sustaining enough, so to speak. But does it make Protection Warrior the best of them all for me? Not unless you are a min-maxer who is going to mostly hang out with organized groups or raids with their guild, in my humble opinion. Now on to another plate wearer staple tank of World of Warcraft, Protection Paladin. Firstly, many of my regular subscribers would know that I'm a fan of Protection Paladins for many reasons and for several expansions in a row, but they have never been my true main class. I'll tell you straight away that Protection Paladin is not in its best shape on the verge of Dragonflight launching, mainly due to some nerfs to how and what abilities generate holy power. For instance, Avenger's Shield is no longer generating holy power, and it would be a rather embarrassing realization if it never did, but I'm pretty sure it did before. Correct me in the comments down below if I'm wrong. So now it feels like one of those gaping holes, I suppose, in Prot Pally's existence in the present day and time. Other than that, Protection Paladin is still offering a lot to love, I suppose, about the spec, including very easy to pick up gameplay, the core of which can be still achieved quite successfully by pressing literally 3 buttons. And I personally love it. There are also a ton of self-healing options, great group utility, very handy almost constant immunity to roots, and a whole bunch of other borderline cheating stuff like the bubble and healing back to full with lay on hands with 1 button, and so on and so forth. Protection Pally is still very enjoyable as a tank, and that's where I will leave it for now. Now, Blood Death Knights have its own kind of as a class, as a spec, have their own dark and almost gothic charm, and a whole bunch of self-shielding and blood-sucking toys that come with it. But in my humble opinion, the two major setbacks kind of and problems of a DK compared to other tanking classes are, firstly, how slow DKs feel when you traverse through open spaces in combat, obviously, or move through a dungeon with a group. And secondly, how relatively complex their damage mitigation mechanics can become if you're trying to play DKs to the necessary level, properly, so to speak, and, you know, as if you pretend to care, I suppose, about the incoming damage, which I appreciate that in this particular example shown to you in the background, I obviously don't, because, you know, my eye level is relatively half decent, I suppose, relatively high, and we are running here through a normal version of Alderman Legacy of Tyr dungeon. Keeping the bone shield on, timing those death strikes properly, and praying that nothing hard hits you in between, because you don't really have a hard oh shit button, not like paladins do anyway. So it all adds up to a slightly more, how should I say, apprehensive tanking experience. This is, again, not to forget that from the fantasy, class fantasy standpoint, DKs probably are among the top ones and some of the highest, attracting a lot of players. Now, Brewmaster Monks. Monks are another very complex to play properly tanks, and the main issue casuals and newbies will have with the spec is the lack of a proper built-in UI element that would help you track and view your stagger, which is the main damage mitigation mechanic for Brewmasters. If you understand how stagger works, and if you allow yourself to see and track and react and reduce that stagger properly, you are off to the races. So not trying to suggest that by starting to use some custom stagger tracker, all of the specs complexity will automatically go away for you. No, but it definitely will help a lot, and adding that custom tracking makes the spec transfers it from being very daunting to suddenly quite playable and very enjoyable. Well, for me personally anyway. So the first and main advice that I can give to relatively new or simply curious to try Brewmaster spec players is to Google for Brewmaster Stagger Weak Aura, which will take you to a website and they can help you further. Okay, this is not a proper Brewmaster guide here. There are lots of custom trackers and you need just to pick one of those that you like the most. I'm a minimalist, so I have my own preferences and you might like mine or some others. Other than keeping on top of your stagger in a dungeon, I think that Brewmasters are very mobile, definitely a fun class to play, fun spec to play, with a lot of extra buttons. Too many buttons for my liking, to push situationally when you want them, when you need them, but it does make you work harder than some other tanking classes, as it keeps you quite busy. If you like pressing many buttons, rolling around like mad, and if your game enjoyment comes from feeling very active on the screen, then Brewmaster is for you, it will not disappoint. If you want to chill, however, I do not think that Brewmaster is for you, full stop. Now, Demon Hunters are an absolute gem for those players who do want to chill, or who want an easy mode, few button tanking class. And most importantly, if you're comfortable with a mantra and a concept of, while I'm doing damage, I self-heal, and if I stop doing that, I will die. Demon Hunters leap around, move fast, can glide, double jump, are great at self-healing semi-passively in combat, and are generally very easy to play as long as you don't forget that you need to stay within the line of sight of your healer, which is very easy to break because you do leap around, you move much faster than your group. You need to keep that at the front of your mind if you want to stay alive and if you want to basically live in harder dungeons where the incoming damage is a lot higher than your self-healing stream and your own damage output. While Demon Hunters are quite fun to play, their weaker points, in my view, are the lack of semi-passive defenses or health regen, such as, for example, the one that warriors get. So you have to keep on moving and damaging stuff to stay alive. And you also don't really have a heal on demand button other than your, fell breath ability, whatever it's called, and the demon form that gives you a massive leech, but again expects you to very quickly damage your enemies, otherwise you will still die. And those buttons are not always available. Now the last but definitely not the least is the Guardian Druid. Everyone is currently complaining about the state of Guardian Druids and not being in a good place talents-wise, and I actually agree with them. But we won't focus on negativity today, we will just very quickly point out the shortfalls. I will tell you that in my opinion, if you look for most passive, 2 to 3 button tanking style, where chill and relative boredom are seen by you as good things, yeah? Then Guardian Druid is the best choice for you to make. My Guardian Druid is probably also among the best geared alts that I have at this stage of running this casual-friendly tanking test, which without a doubt contributed to this feeling of just running through the dungeon safely, swiping and thrashing everything. And at one point my healer even asked me, "Mate, do you even need me to heal you?" And I said to him, "All good, buddy, just keep the boys up." But regardless of what I think, you know, the Druid is without a doubt feeling least exciting right now in the game as a spec, and I would love something more fun to be done with it. But I also absolutely do love the chill style of tanking. Swiping everything with one button literally and somehow not take much damage. So on to the summary and the verdict, my friends. To summarize and give you my version of a list of tanks, now it's going to be ordered from least exciting one to the one that I most likely will be playing. And if you fast forwarded to this point in the video and now are wondering why my list is ordered this way, all I can say to you, my friend, go back and watch the video, okay? So coming in the last 6th place for me personally today, aka being the least interesting tank for me personally, is the ultra slow Blood Death Knights. Sorry, Death Knights, better luck next time. In the 5th place, I will put the glorious Protection Warrior because of their busy playstyle and heavy reliance on the group healer. In the 4th place, marginally above the Warrior, is the Brewmaster Monk, for me personally once again, due to being very busy on the battlefield, too busy for my liking, but having more fun toys to play with, such as outsourcing their off-tanking duties to an Orc statue, and a lot more heal-on-demand options. In the 3rd solid place is Protection Paladin, and I'm also disappointed that Pally didn't come closer to the top. Even though I keep recommending Pallies to complete noob tanks, I still believe that they are very easy to pick up. But for me, Pally lacks currently a more generous holy power generation and feels a little bit starved to be rated higher. In the 2nd place, I've put Vengeance Demon Hunter. It's an easy and very fun semi-passive tank to play that I will definitely play in Dragonflight and I can recommend to anyone, but unfortunately sometimes it could feel a bit too busy and you can't take a break really and chill, you know, if you want to stay alive. You have to keep on moving and keep on damaging your targets. This is the only reason why I rate Demon Hunters below my choice number 1 on this list, Guardian Druid. Yes, Guardian talents are a bit messed up, and the picks that I'm forced to make just to get to the lower areas of the talent tree make not much sense and do not give me much creative freedom to express my unique tanking style more. But where Bear Form still absolutely rocks, passive swipe and thrash playstyle is just wonderful for me personally, and being in this slightly underbaked state, Guardians are surely on the list of specs that will be revisited by the development team and have reasonable chances of getting better, while the other classes and specs might just be stuck in their current form for a very long time, which is not such a very good thing for them, is it? And there you have it, my friends. This is a Gyros casual friendly list of tanking class preferences for Dragonflight, at the very least pre-launch of the expansion. Things are going to change in later patches, but right now that's what it's looking like to me, and I hope I was able to explain it to you in very simple and unpretentious terms as always. Now it's your turn to tell me in the comments down below of the video what class and spec will you be playing and prioritizing for Dragonflight, and especially if it's a tank. What have you picked and why? Let's share. There is no right and wrong in these things. We play what we want, we play what we like. Speaking of likes, please like the video if you liked it or found it helpful, and subscribe for more casual friendly guides and class reviews from me before you leave. And I will talk to you next time.